Visionaries Global Media, your number one source for podcasting entertainment.
So I'm Saul Esparza. I'm one half of the Old Bay Boys. I'm the treasure of the Chesapeake, and I am seasoned for greatness. And you are listening to the MGB Wrestling Podcast.
Today we have a very special guest. We've seen him at EWA a couple times, Saul Esparza. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm fantastic. It's been a crazy couple months, but we're slowly getting around.
I think we might possibly have a couple of questions on that base. Yeah, it's been very crazy the last few months for sure.
For people who aren't familiar with your work, how would you describe your wrestling style and character?
Ooh, oh, you're really making me think today. I haven't really asked myself that in a long time, but it's a very technical style. I kind of try to pull stuff from everywhere because there's a lot of stuff that I can do, but I try to stick to my technical base at all times because I was a wrestler in high school, and it's something that I really pride myself on to make it look legit as possible. I want someone to think, ooh, that hurt, or ooh, that looks legit.
Now, I've actually thought of another question that goes with this as well. Perhaps this might be an easier one then as well. What professional wrestler would you say you most closely resemble in style?
So someone that I try to model myself after a lot is, if you're familiar with New Japan, I go after Tetsuya Naito.
Now, we're not, but we have plenty of people who listen to our podcast who will be nodding right now. We're looking blankly at each other. It's one that we keep saying, we really need to get into New Japan.
You should. It's I prefer like the sport aspect of wrestling more, but I love the character side of it too.
I think one of the problems is the time's always very difficult. I'm getting up at 4 a.m. so I can. That's one thing that certainly doesn't appeal. And I don't know. It's just so different. I'm so used to watching episodic programming. Like, it's on every week. Like Raw, it's on every Monday, 8 o'clock. They just have a very different.
It's very weird times for New Japan. Like, I remember a couple years ago. Have you heard of Wrestle Kingdom? Like their biggest show of the year. So it's always on it's always on like January 4th, I think. And that falls like on the Wednesday on a school night.
Yeah.
And so, but one year we had a pretty bad blizzard a couple years ago. So I was lucky that school was out and I could just stayed up till like 4 a.m. or whatever, late hour just to watch it. But with New Japan, it's always weird hours that you have to get used to.
We know you train with EWA Wrestling. How did that come about, and can you tell us about that experience at the Pain Factory?
Ooh, the Pain Factory. So, how old was I? I was 16, still in high school, and I showed up to EWA because I'm actually my wrestling coach. One of the assistant wrestling coaches at my high school previously used to wrestle at EWA. So he kind of just slid me in, showed me to the right people, and that's where I got my start at EWA. But Jesse Orion has been one of my main trainers from there. Orion, he's a great dude. But people are just coming and going, and I'm just taking knowledge from whoever comes by the school. Like right now, currently, Alexander James is there training. He's a great guy. Lots of experience. I've just been taking stuff from him all the time. But we have various guest trainers that come by, such as O'Shea Edwards. He was there for a while, training us for a while. We did have a seminar with Jonathan Gresham there a couple weeks ago. That went by great. But yeah, the Pain Factory is just a great place to really get your feet wet.
That's
now
some pretty big names there. I could say all three people you mentioned there were like, oh yeah, we've seen those wrestlers. They're all pretty. I didn't actually realize Alexander James was sort of back in Maryland. I thought he was still out. I know he was wrestling at, I think it's WXW in Germany. So I guess probably, I don't know. I assume probably he got stuck over there with COVID. I didn't even realize he was sort of back in the US, to be honest.
Yeah, no, he's from Maryland. He also started EWA like way back. Like I'm gonna say like 2007, I think. I'm not sure. Okay. Yeah, but he was here.
What he'd been running for? Do you know? We've only familiar with it probably not even 2 years.
2 years.
We sort of realized it went back a little bit because I remember seeing Adam Cole was wrestling there.
Adam Cole was there.
Some videos out.
Drew Gulak, Rich Swann, a bunch of people ran through here. I think they've been in the runnings for like 20 years now, consecutively. Wow. I'm not really too up to date on my like EWA history. I think it's like on their Facebook. It's one of the things they pride themselves on. So they're older than me.
Which other wrestlers were you training with?
Are you familiar with a certain Rico Diamante?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. That dude, I started a little bit before him, but we kind of grew up together as we both started training together. And now here we are going show to show in the general area. And so we're kind of like evolving together. Chris Kushner, he was also in the same class as I. It was mostly us main three. Jacob Jett came a little bit down the line. But there's like tons of new faces in EWA right now. From like the general DMV area that are just, if you've seen the last show, and if you're like a huge DMV wrestling fans, we're just getting people from all over to come down and show us what we can do for you guys. Like a good, who was at the last show? Mikey Banger was at the last show.
We saw Mikey. We saw Mr. Grimm.
Isaiah Frazier.
Yeah, there was a few people I was like, oh, I didn't realize you guys were going to appear. So yeah, that was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, I was pretty excited for. So I helped plan part of that show, and we just wanted to get like a bunch of wrestlers from the DMV area, because like with all these promotions shutting down and not, we wanted to make sure that the DMV area was still strong, and that we're gonna rebuild it. So that's what we wanted to make sure that we included everyone.
That's one of the biggest uncertainties for us right now. Certainly, EWA Maryland, we like to review. We can't get up there, unfortunately, that often. Often your events are on Friday nights, which under normal circumstances are really difficult for us to get there. But when we can, we certainly like to see it. And certainly when it's on Facebook Live, then it's like, we got this. We're
easy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, some of our more close organizations, it's... we don't really know. It's like, have they shut? Because you've asked me a couple of times, like, have they shut down? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't think so. There's certainly troubled times. So, yeah, it was good to see familiar faces who we've not seen wrestle in a long time appear on that show on Saturday. Now, let's take you right back to the start, though. The first match we actually saw you at was on Suicide at EWA Maryland. It was against JB Jr. And the thing we were blown away by that match. We were like, I can say, I love technical wrestling. Growing up in England in the 80s, they were all over that stuff. I absolutely loved it. We talked to Jim Christian at the intermission. He told us that was your debut. We were like, oh my gosh. All right, what can you remember from that debut then, from your point of view?
That was a scary night for me. I mean, I felt confident, but of course, when it's your debut, you're going to have a lot of adrenaline going. You're going to think a lot. But like, now, like, what am I, like a year into it? I'm pretty calm now when it's my turn to go and perform. But at the time, I did remember being very scared. I remember my entrance came out. I didn't really know what to do. I just ran straight to the ring. I was like, okay, it's my turn. But I think a couple months prior to that, they asked me, when are you turning 18? And I was like, okay, May 10th. And they're like, perfect. We have a show May 18th. That's your debut. And I'm like, great. Now I gotta look for gear. I wasn't ready, but because it just happened so quick, and I'm like, damn, well, I'm here now. So I just gotta go with it.
Well, the thing that surprised me as well with that, like we've asked certain people before, like tell us about your debut. Often we've seen people as well, and when it's their first time, they'll often put them in like scramble matches, or they'll put them in like three-way matches, so you can get like a little breather on the outside, like you're not involved the whole time. The fact that you were put in a singles match, it was like whoa, because literally it's on you the whole time. You're involved the whole time. Like you might get kicked out of the ring, and you might have a small breather, but that. Obviously, that shows Jim Christian had a lot of faith in you to put you in that singles match right at the start.
Yeah, I'm pretty grateful that they kind of put that trust on me, because I would prefer to have done like a battle royal, a whole lot less pressure on me. But it's just something you just gotta get thrown into. Like I felt like they threw me into the deep end, but I didn't drown. I think I did an okay job.
No, I actually went back and watched that match because I was looking on their YouTube page because I actually missed a couple of matches from Saturday, and I did go back to it, and yeah, it holds true. There's no way looking at that match unless we'd have actually talked to Jim. There is no way we would have known that was your debut at all.
We were at Ring of Honor in November at UMBC Center in Baltimore. We quickly saw that you were at ringside collecting streamers as they were thrown into the ring. How do you get a job like that?
A job, you just gotta know the right people. And there's a certain guy that runs ring crew there that I'm a very close friends with, and he asked me if I wanted to come down and help out for the show, and it's pretty crazy. Like you're just walking backstage, and then like you see Bully Ray pop out of nowhere, and he's like telling you to like staple barbed wire to these tables, and he's like making sure you do it the right way, because apparently there's a right way to do it and the wrong way to do it.
Well,
it's just crazy.
My curiosity then, what's the right way or what's the wrong way to do it then, in case we ever have to do that? It seems unlikely, just in case.
I don't remember what he was saying about, but he made us redo it a bunch of times. What? Like you want to have it spread out, you don't want to have it bundled up. There's a certain ways that you gotta like prepare the tables. You gotta put like a bunch of tables under the ring. But as far as like doing streamers, that job is exhausting. Like. If someone ever asks you to work for Ring of Honor, just be ready to bring some knee pads, because you have to crawl on the floor. And like, so they cut the commercial, and that's like your like a 30-second commercial, and you only have 30 seconds of running to the ring, scoop up as much as streamers as you can, and go back out into the trash cans. And legit, the first time I did it, I didn't bring knee pads because I didn't know I was gonna do it, and like I ripped like a hole in my jeans.
Ooh.
Just from crawling on the floor and just shooting. But by the second time, I was ready. I was prepared for it. And I brought my knee pads.
That's a shame. We looked at that second one. I can't remember why. There was some reason why we didn't go. I think you might have had wrestling training or something came up. But yeah, that first one we went to was really cool.
Did you get to meet any other wrestlers? And are there any cool stories to share from this experience?
He was there. A lot of big dudes, like Nick Aldis. That dude is huge. like what you see through the camera doesn't do any justice to how like huge that dude is in person. He was a very nice guy as well. He'll take the time to like talk to you. I didn't ask him anything because I was just shy. I didn't really want to bother anyone. But there was like the fanboy in me was coming out to a lot of guys. Like the Luchadors were there. Bandito. Who else was there? Ray Horace, Dragon Lee, Roosh.
Yep.
The whole Roosh family's there. Because actually no. So after the show, me and a couple of the ring crew guys, we went to the Denny's right after, and we're just there eating Denny's, and like we hear like loud Spanish people talking like the table before, and I go out to use the bathroom, turn left, and it's just Roosh there with like his with all of his crew. It's him, Dragon Lee, Bandito. They all travel together, and it was just pretty crazy just eating at the Denny's with them.
That's one of those popular haunts afterwards. I hear
Denny's, yeah.
I heard IHOP. I hear all those. I never seem to hear Waffle House, surprisingly, but
I've never been to one. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those things I want to try.
What are your memories from like the actual matches? Like you definitely had the best seat in the house, right in front of the barricades. There, nobody blocking your view.
It's easy to get. So I got yelled at a couple times just because I'm like so focused in the match, and it's like, hey. Like legit, you gotta like you have to hold on to the guardrails when they're about to throw someone in there, because you don't want this guardrail flying into the seat, so you really have to like brace up against it. So it's always, your head's always on a swivel. So I did miss lots of the action, but sometimes I did get lost in the action just because there's a lot going on. But it was a pretty crazy experience, especially like during the Rush's matches. He goes like ballistic. He like slams people into the guardrails, and they fly everywhere. So you always got to be ready if you're ringside.
Well, that links in perfectly with what my next question was. Our first time, actually, at EWA Maryland was Rage in the Cage 2019. And that was the first thing we noticed. Like, the people who were ringside, they constantly had to, like, hold the cages. Like, as soon as somebody was about to get slammed into it, you had to, like, hold it to make sure it didn't come down. And that was actually the last time we saw you. It was actually Rage in the Cage 2020. So I was going to ask, what experience is that like? How different is that from your regular wrestling matches? Or is it at all?
That was my first cage show, you're right. It was so surreal because, like, the year before, I haven't debuted yet. I was still doing ringside, and I was like, one day I'm going to get in that ring. I'm going to get in that cage. And then the next year coming out, and it was pretty insane. It hurts, so don't do it, because I got thrown into the cage a couple times. It wasn't, I had, like the cage links, like, markings of it on my arm everywhere for, like, a week. It was, like, engraved in there. But it was pretty fun. I had a fun time.
Now, we know you're now tagging also with Chris Kushner, who you mentioned earlier, as part of the Old Bay Boys. How did that collaboration come about? And we haven't seen you wrestle yet as that combination. So have you actually wrestled anywhere?
So not in EWA. EWA is kind of like where we're doing like our own thing. Mm-hmm. But we have been around, before this pandemic. If this pandemic never happened, it would have been big for the Old Bay Boys. We had lots of things lined up, but we've wrestled. If you're familiar with 1CW over in Delaware,
I've heard of it. I don't think we might have been to one of their events. I know it's one I've looked at. I know I follow them on like Facebook and Twitter, but I'm not sure if we have actually been to their event yet.
Yeah, we've wrestled there. That's mainly where we're at right now. That's where people were like, Mr. Grimm wrestles there as well. He's the main champion down there. We've done stuff at the Monster Factory.
Yeah.
Over in New Jersey. And then we're in Pennsylvania too at SSW. We have a couple of matches up there. They're called Superstar Wrestling. They check them out. But we're mainly at 1CW at the moment.
It's definitely a name I'm familiar with. I guess the question is really, where's the best place if we want to come and see you wrestle as a tag team? Because I know that you wrestle singles at EWA, so we haven't had a chance to talk to you since that. So I was and obviously the pandemic's obviously messed everything up. So once the pandemic's done, I'm going to say, I'm looking to do some traveling. So yeah, Delaware's not too far for us.
Delaware's not too far. We were hoping to get into the DMV area. Like there was a lot of places we had our eyes set on, but then the whole pandemic ruined everything. Yep. We were actually supposed to go to Tampa Bay for WrestleMania weekend to see if we could get some shows down there.
Oh.
Yeah, that sucked.
Yeah, that would have been nice. Yeah, I got to go to WrestleMania 35 and it was like so cool, and I looked into 36 a little bit, but it didn't look like it was actually going to happen. But yeah, I'm glad I didn't make too many bookings because it would have been tough to figure it out.
Yeah, it was once like they started canceling like basketball, I was like, no, they're gonna cancel everything. But I got over it.
If Chris was unavailable to tag with, who would be your dream wrestling partner?
My dream wrestling partner. I think me and Jonathan Gresham would be a nice little tag team. We both work similar styles. He obviously is more experienced than I, so he can do most of the work. But no, he's as far as his style goes, he's one of the guys that I'm really impressed about, and someone I really try to model myself after because he's so like innovative. He's always like working like he's playing a whole chess game. Basically, that's his whole wrestling style. So you really gotta pay attention to it.
I know when we used to watch him at Nova Pro, I think the first couple of times, I think he's so understated, we didn't actually realize how good he was. And then once we started to get to know him a little bit better, it was like, oh my gosh, he's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, he's...
The match against Sanjay Dutt was an absolute classic, and unfortunately Sanjay got injured on that match. But yeah, thoroughly deserving of the IWTV title as well. I'm going to say he puts on some great matches.
Yeah, that dude's phenomenal. I'm hoping that one day I can train under him at the Ring of Honor dojo. That's one of the goals that I want to go down to. I want to learn from him because he has tons of experience from everywhere. So if I could get just a little bit of it, that'd be great.
Oh, absolutely. Now, you might have to give him a little bit of a nudge on this one. Chris has said, because Chris Cushion has said he is going to appear on the podcast. We're trying to tie him down to a time. I know he doesn't appear on social media that much. We're hoping we're going to ask him the same question. But what is the best characteristic of your tag team partner?
Ooh, the best character. I kind of like the relationship we have between, because it happened all organically, and it's like I'm the little pit bull that gets mad, and I go to try to fight these bigger dudes, and then these bigger dudes start pummeling me down, and now I'm getting beat up, and then there's Big Daddy over here. I go tag out, he goes crazy, starts hawking up, he beats everyone up. And then I come back in, seal the deal, and then we're done. That's how it usually goes. But yeah, usually, since I'm the leader, most of the time I'm usually the little guy. So that usually works not in my favors, but he usually comes in and equalizes threats.
That's what you want as a tag team partner.
That's what you
Someone's
want.
got your back.
He got my back, I have his back.
There you go.
I put Old Bay on my popcorn. What foods do the Old Bay boys put Old Bay on?
So, have you tried the Obey hot sauce?
We have.
Yes,
we
yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw Chris post. I think Chris posted that on Twitter. And yeah, we put it on the shopping list, and yeah, we got it. We love that stuff.
I put it on my eggs. I put it on my wings. I actually put the hot sauce on the popcorn as well.
You saw that on the label, didn't you? You could put it on popcorn. I was like, popcorn? I was like, I never even heard of that.
You could put it on beverages too, it says.
You can?
Yeah.
I've heard of people putting it on like ice cream. I haven't tried that yet, but I want. Where was I at yesterday? I went to an ice cream shop down in Hamden, and they had like Old Bay caramel ice cream.
Really?
I didn't try it, but like one of these days I gotta go back and try it.
Well, it's interesting. Just as we were about to start recording, my youngest asked. He said, "Can I get some ice cream?" I was like, "Look, you're gonna have to wait." I was like, "We said we were gonna start recording at 6." I was like, perhaps after we finish, then we could get him his ice cream. Perhaps he can be the taste tester for us. He says he likes it. He can try it out for us, perhaps. Now, we know that you have that Maryland theme. Now, a lot of our listeners are actually outside the DMV area, and we have a lot of listeners in England as well. How would you characterize the area and the people from Maryland?
So with Maryland, we kind of got it all. That's the great thing I like about Maryland. Like, we have the beaches to the right of us. We have the mountains to the left of us. And then we have, the city, of course, Baltimore, Maryland.
Yep.
And then we have, so there's a bunch of, there's a little bit for everyone if you come down here.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, within an hour's drive, if you're located in the center, yeah, there's lots of different places you can get to. A lot of cool stuff in that area. Now, we saw your matches on Facebook Live for the EWA Quarantine in March, and then also Sweet 16 last month. As wrestling has started to return, how would you say wrestling has changed for you since COVID? What differences are you noticing as a wrestler?
It's kind of working in my favors, actually, because everyone's going to have to evolve into adjust to this certain style where you have to be very technical and just notice the small little details, because it's just you're not performing in front of an audience anymore. It's just you and the camera and the people watching from home. So it's one of those things where you have to be more precise with the movements you do and more technical. And that's working more on my favors, because there's lots of guys that aren't able to adapt that quickly, and it's not working for them. But for me, I'm feeling right at home with where I think wrestling's going as far as pandemic era.
Yeah, I'm sure people who've been wrestling like 20 years, that's probably got to be it's got to be a lot more difficult to suddenly make that switch. But when you've only been wrestling for a year and everything's still relatively new, I guess it's probably easier to make that transformation.
Yeah, I'll say right now that it's like a big paradigm shift for a lot of people.
What are you doing to stay ready for when wrestling fully returns?
Ooh, what am I? So the gyms are back open.
Yep.
So thankfully I'm back to the gym, but for a while, the gyms are closed, and I had to do like crazy stuff just to stay in shape. Like, you know what pallets are?
Yes.
Like wood pallets. I'll get like a bunch of pallets and just toss them as far as I can. Or I'll go grab like a tire and go give it German suplexes over my head. There's lots of Germans to these heavy tires. Lots of body weight stuff. I don't like push-ups at all, but like that's all I did for like months at a time.
Oh.
There's a bunch of push-ups. That's about it. Like the only way to stay ready for wrestling is by wrestling.
Cool.
So it was pretty hard to like adapt to it. But we made it work. I'm in decent shape at the moment.
Yeah, I know there's a few people said you can do all that stuff. You can do the push-ups. You can do your weights. You can still that, but it's ring shape is a totally different thing. And like you said, you can only do that by actually wrestling itself. All right, now how would you say you've developed then in the last year? And what things have you improved upon the most? And what area or areas do you still need to work on? Would you say?
So like my first couple months, I got it's really stereotypical, but a lot of people would say that, oh, you gotta slow down. You're going too fast. And I had no idea what they're talking about because I thought I was taking my time, but apparently I wasn't. So it's something that I really had to learn how to do because it helps you breathe out. You won't get like gassed too early, and then it also gives you that time to like interact with the crowd.
Yeah.
Basically. So that's something I really had to learn over time to like slow down, be a little bit more calmer, make your little movements mean something, make them mean a whole lot more than we just doing whatever. And what do I gotta get better at? I had a couple things that I wrote down that I need to improve on. Well, since like the audiences are gone, it's just you and the camera, right? So I gotta get used to just working for the people that are looking right at you from home. Because I'm used to like going around the ring, looking for certain people in the audiences, and just making fun of them. But now I can't do that anymore. There's no people. So it means I just gotta be meaner with everything I do, with all my little movements.
We have also seen you play somewhat a face to an out heel. Which of these do you prefer the most?
So people say that I would work better as his face, but I just like being mean. Like you can't be mean like anywhere else. You'll get in trouble for that, right? You can't be mean at school. But in wrestling you can do whatever you want. You can snap someone's fingers. You can rake their eyes. You can throw them into the post. You can do. It's limitless. You can do whatever you want. So yeah, I would prefer to be a heel. That's where I feel most comfortable at. But as a tag team, you kind of have to learn how to do it both ways to be a great wrestler. And with the Obey Boys right now, we're good guys at the moment. It's like a switch. It's an on and off switch. Whenever I come to EWA, it's when the mean side comes out.
You certainly seem to enjoy that mean side. There always seems to be a smile on your face while you're doing it as well, which I think is perfect for the heel. If you're not doing it for enjoyment, then why would you do it in the first place? I think that works absolutely perfectly. Now, one of my questions, I couldn't remember, and you actually partially answered it earlier. So since I originally wrote these questions, we did see your match last weekend at the time of recording. I couldn't remember actually the name of the event. It was on August the 1st anyway, so I know you know what I'm talking about. I couldn't remember your opponent. I think you said it was Jacob Jett. Now, I think that was actually only his second match at EWA. Can you tell us a little bit more about him? We don't really know him at all. I think the first match we saw him at was the first match you guys came back as an organization.
He was supposed. Oh my God, he was supposed to debut on the show that we were supposed to have in March before it got canceled. That was supposed to be his huge debut. Because he was kind of and like. He's very similar to I in the way that we grew up. We both were like amateur wrestlers in high school, and he joined EWA when he was like 16, 17. So they were just waiting for that moment that he turned 18 for him to throw in a show, but there was no show for him. So those quarantine shows and those August shows, those were like his big debuts for him. And yeah, I'm very proud of him. He works similar styles as I, where we're kind of like scrappy little underdog wrestlers, and it's definitely something I take notice of.
Now, I know we won't talk about it too much because it was actually a losing match for you, and I know the commentary said it was a big upset. You can definitely, in case we mentioned it earlier, you can definitely go back and watch all these matches. They're all on YouTube. If you go back and search for EWA Maryland, and you were actually main eventing this one. This show went on a lot longer. I didn't realize. I know that some of the other shows were on for like an hour. And we didn't realize I had to miss a little bit because I was putting Jackson to bed, and then I came back down, and you just started your match. I was like, oh my gosh, it's like over 2 hours, and you were still going. So people can definitely go catch up on those matches if they want to as well.
Yeah, it was a super show. We wanted to come back strong for everyone, and especially in the DMV area because it's taking some hits. So we wanted to make sure that everyone was included and that everyone had fun.
Do you have any tattoos?
I wish I had tattoos. I'm only 19 years old, so maybe I could save up some and get some, but no, not at the moment. No tattoos.
Like all the interviews we've done, it's always been like, yeah, I got like 100.
100.
The last two now, it's been a no. I was thinking on this one, I was like, I don't think so. But I could have like small tattoos like on your wrist as well that you don't always notice as well. Have you ever seen the TV show Better Call Saul? And have you ever used that line to get people to phone you?
Ooh, I was growing up. I was a very huge Breaking Bad fan, and then from Breaking Bad, I did start watching Better Call Saul. That's what I actually called him a lariat.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Ah.
So I'll fire up for the lariat. Better Call Saul. And then I run and I knock their heads off their shoulders. 1, 2, 3. I won. I haven't hit it yet, but that's what I have. That's how I had it planned in my head. Hasn't worked out yet, but I'll hit it one of these days.
Coming to a ring near you soon.
Soon. I just gave away my plan. Great.
Well, we'll know it on the commentary team. They might not be able to call that then. So when we do the review of that match, we'll be able to give it the correct name. So we'll have the inside scoop already. That's great.
There you go.
What is the weirdest food or the weirdest food combination you have ever eaten?
Food combinations. So usually late night, like around 12, 1 a.m. That's when I would get these weird cravings, and I'll start mixing stuff up. Like, I think the other day I was eating, like, ice cream, and then I ate pickles right after it. It didn't feel good, but, like, I was just craving stuff.
Sounds like you're pregnant.
I'm really weird, but, like... And then I was eating ham right afterwards, and it didn't, like, mix together. I had a bad night that night. So, yeah, if you're going to eat something, like, spread it out throughout the day.
That started off on one question because of somebody having peanut butter with eggs, and it's kind of, we've just left it in because we always find it's an entertaining question now.
Peanut butter and eggs. I haven't done that challenge yet.
Chris actually challenged us to one as well. I think it was the eggs, peanut butter.
And Old Bay hot sauce.
Yeah, it was the Old Bay hot sauce as well, and I wasn't impressed without the hot sauce, but with the hot sauce, and I think you said the same. Like, I don't know what it was, but it was way better. I would definitely eat it again. I think I gave that 9 out of 10. I think I gave the other one like 4 or 5 out of 10 with that. Yeah, the hot sauce with the eggs definitely works. And
I always put hot sauce on the eggs. Hot sauce always goes on the eggs. I don't know about peanut butter, but hot sauce always.
What was your favorite teacher or subject at grade level school?
So, I was really bad at school. I wasn't like this. I wasn't really that smart, but my favorite subject was calculus for some reason. Like I was bad at English. I couldn't do history. I couldn't remember all these facts or anything, but calculus was the one thing that really stuck to me. I mean, I don't remember any of it now, but I don't mean to brag, but I got like a 4 on the AP test.
Woo!
Yeah, you know, I got that college credit. Yeah. I mean, I don't mean to brag or anything, but
Well, I teach Well, when I finally get back to school again, I actually teach calculus. We teach a slightly different version at the school I'm at. We teach the English qualification for it. But yeah, to say that you're not smart and then you got a 4 on that AP calculus exam, yeah, something's not quite matching up there.
Yeah, I couldn't read any of the English books or remember any histories, but like when we're talking about derivatives and like integrals, you can go call me. That's my subject. That's on me.
Universal language right now. Now you're at college right now, I believe. So what are you studying in college?
I'm going in for so I'm studying for exercise science because eventually I want to become like a physical therapist. But it kind of comes hand in hand with wrestling because like if I injured myself, I could just easily rehab myself in a way.
That makes sense.
So yeah, I think it pairs up pretty well. If wrestling doesn't always stick out, I can just be a trainer for at some place.
That makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I would say we have listeners in England where you get socialized healthcare. So if you get
you lucky guys.
Yeah, I would say any wrestler over there who breaks an arm or whatever, you just go to the doctors and that's it, zero cost. But if that happens over here, that's obviously a very different thing.
Probably, I know.
Yeah, so yeah, being able to treat minor injuries and be able to rehab yourself afterwards, that would be huge. Yeah, that's a very useful skill for a wrestler, I would say.
Yeah, like I don't ever want to be in a position where I have to make like a GoFundMe for like some minor little injury I got. I'll rather like learn how to rehab it myself, and I have done it with like busted collarbones and like shoulders.
Well, you mentioned Breaking Bad earlier. That show doesn't even work in England because it doesn't make any sense.
Really?
Like, yeah, he had cancer. I only watched the first season. I started watching the second and I got bored with it. I'm going to be honest. I liked the first season. But yeah, if you had cancer, you would just go to the doctors and it would all be covered. So the whole premise that he had to go to get cover for his health, it doesn't even make any sense there. So yeah, outside of America, that show is very strange. The whole premise of it. But it was funny how you mentioned we got around to Breaking Bad early, and I just suddenly noticed the parallels between those two things.
Well, yeah, it's the reality that we live in on this side of the planet.
Did you do any sports in high school other than wrestling?
Oh, sports! Haha! I did it all. Not really. I was only really good at it. So I'm the jack of all trades, master of none. Because I did baseball, I did soccer. Wrestling was probably the best thing I was good at, but it was mainly those 3 sports. And then I tried to get into other weird stuff like rugby. I tried doing rugby for a bit.
Oh, nice.
Nice. I did jiu-jitsu for a while. It's not the same as wrestling, but it's very similar. But I like jiu-jitsu. I was really bad at basketball. That's the one thing I can't do basketball at all. Or like things like tennis or like volleyball, I can't do any of those. But like my main 3 sports would be soccer, baseball, and then wrestling.
Yeah, I was listening to the Wrestling with Sports podcast, and they have a couple of all-star baseball players on there, and somebody who's big into wrestling as well. And the big thing that they said was for the younger people, basically you want to try as many sports as you can when you're younger, because you pick up skills, even if you don't go to use those skills. That you can normally apply them to different things, though. The things that you learn playing different team sports, individual sports, there's always something you can gain from that, which I think kind of steals your question a little bit, Mason, but go ahead.
What skills do you gain from soccer and baseball to help you in wrestling?
So it's just mainly with being athletic that helps you in wrestling. And that's something that comes with time. There's lots of like people that come into wrestling and they've never done any sports before. So it's pretty hard to train them because they're learning how to stand, so they're learning how to balance on one leg, or they're having a bit more harder time to control their body with. But with doing other sports like soccer and baseball, it helped me like coordinate my body in the way I want to move, and it really helped with my athletic stance. So if you're ever like thinking of becoming a wrestler in the future, I would encourage you to do as much sports as you can when you're younger, because it's harder when you're older.
All right. One of Mason's follow-up question normally is, you've kind of answered it, so I'm going to twist it round, actually. His question normally is, what's the best advice you can give to a young wrestler such as myself, is what he normally asks. So I was going to ask the question in reverse then. What's the best advice you've been given as a young wrestler yourself?
I think, so every young wrestler, they want to, like, go balls to the walls, they go crazy, and, like, just take your time. You're young. Like, if you take care of your body, you can do this for as long as you can do anything for as long as you want. Just don't be reckless. And like so when you're not being reckless, it like forces you to be smarter and like makes you think outside the box. Like almost, have you ever seen Effie perform? Effie's a great dude because he doesn't do crazy stuff. He's just a very smart guy, and he could be doing this for as long as he wants because he takes care of himself. So that's something that because ideally I want to do this forever and hopefully not get injured along the way. But it's a mentality that a lot of young people have to have in order to last long, because like the whole idea of a bump card, that's very true. Like there's only a certain amount of bumps that you can have before your bump card just runs out.
Sure.
So it's something that you want to preserve, and you just want to be smart about it when you're younger.
Can you tell us how to find you on social media, and do you have any upcoming matches you would like to promote?
Ooh, I don't know if I'm allowed to promote them because they're secret tapings.
Uh-oh.
I think I'm gonna be in Delaware for 1CW, the Old Bay Boys. I think they might do like a Facebook Live coming up.
Cool.
So that's where I would be at next. EWA, since this show went so well in August,
yeah,
they're like, congratulations. You guys get to have another show down the line. So be looking for us in like September. The specifics aren't out yet, but we will have a show in September. Hoping that everything's well with the county and we're allowed to run. But we didn't have any problems this show, and it went great. So I don't expect it to be any different.
We'll make sure that we include the Twitter address for EWA Maryland in the episode notes as well, so people can go follow them if they don't already do so, and that link to that YouTube page as well.
Gotcha. Oh, and what's my Twitter? My Twitter is at Superstar Saul. That's where you guys can follow me at, please. I need more followers. But I'll get to like 1,000 eventually.
I'm glad you mentioned it. I could not remember what it was, because I think you changed it at one point, and I was like, "Whoa!" Is that him? I was like, "Oh yeah, I guess it is." Yeah,
it's spelled weird because Superstar with an ER was taken already by someone, so it's Super with an A. So
okay.
Superstar Saul.
Thank you, Saul, for agreeing to come on MGB. This was great for us to find out more about you.
Well, thanks. Hopefully we can get Chris on this next time.
We're hoping you can give us the assist on that one. Yeah, he said he would.
It's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from them.
Goodbye.
The music was Zigzag by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. Licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0. http://creativecommons.org/licenses/by/3.0/
Match 3. This is the Pain Factory Showcase match between Saul Esparza and JB Jr. Now, I didn't know what the Pain Factory was, and I heard somebody talk about that as well, so I started to look this one up. Now, from that interview I had earlier, that I was talking about from the Baltimore Sun, it says, sitting in the former Dundalk warehouse that serves as his EWA headquarters and wrestling school, aptly named the Pain Factory, Hardwick doesn't look or sound especially dangerous. Anyway, the last part's unimportant, but that explains what the Pain Factory is.
Oh.
So the Pain Factory is where they train their wrestlers.
Yeah.
And you could tell Saul was young. I actually found out later he's only 18. JB Jr., not quite so sure. We saw him previously as well. So at Rage in a Cage, JB Jr. retired Hijinks when we last saw him in a career versus mask match. JB Jr. came out to the final countdown as well. I like that song. And kids behind us were shouting, "Take the mask off, take the..." I've never heard anybody, because JB Jr. is clearly a face as well, that they would want you to take the mask off. Like, that's really important to luchadors. That's like the big thing, that they have to keep their mask on.
Like,
and you've seen them, like, they'll get beat up and they'll keep their face pinned to the ground because they don't want people seeing their face.
Oh, so like one time like Kalisto, he was only supposed to get his mask pulled up to like his nose, but it accidentally went like way over his head, and then I can't remember who it was. They just shoved it back on his face.
Yeah. No, that's something that generally doesn't happen unless they give them permission, I'm sure. But they normally try and protect the identity. I think that's kind of cool because if you're a big star, you can walk around and nobody has no idea who you are. Like, if you're Roman Reigns, you can't just walk around. You get recognized straight away. Also, just because of his physical size, but luchadors tend to be smaller in stature, so you wouldn't recognize them. You just think it's just a regular old person walking around. So I kind of like that. All right.
And the thing was, I saw another feud. It was Rey Mysterio and Jericho, and Rey Mysterio went for the 619, but then Jericho swiped off his mask, and then he quickly covered his face with his hands and ran off to the back.
There you go. That's normally what happens.
I wonder if you don't wear your mask in the back so the wrestlers can see your face, but just wear it if you're like on a documentary or something and they're in the back.
That I don't know. I don't know how much they stay in character.
I wonder if it's annoying
like
too.
I don't know.
Like,
I'm sure if you're in an outdoor arena, it could get really hot.
I remember.
I'm sure.
The Mankind. I watched his Blood in It. No, not it was one of his like things, and he said the mask sort of gets really annoying and itchy at the start, but then once you get used to that Mankind mask, then it gets more and more better. And he used to wear it all the time.
That one doesn't look so good because it's like got leather parts to it as well, whereas the normal mask
Like
kind of
Vader?
feels it's an Invader as well. But the kind of luchador mask, I'm thinking like Rey Mysterio, they tend to look like they fit a little bit nicer and a little bit more comfortable. But all right, what we got for this match?
Saul is very athletic, and so Saul punched the post, and then he chops. So JB Jr. he chops Saul, but it does nothing until Saul takes down his like straps, and then he chops his actual like skin. And then his actual chest, and then he starts hurting, and then he tries to put his straps back up, but then JB won't let him, so he keeps chopping him.
He did, and before that, Saul actually says, "Come on, hit me," and it didn't. It had no effect. But yeah, once it was bare skin, it did start having an effect. And before that, I put great joint manipulation, and the reason on anything I have for that is because I started looking away at that point, because you were like, "Oh look, he's bending his fingers back." I'm like, "Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. I can't stand looking at that."
And then he tries to put it back on, and then Saul, he was about to pin JB from a superplex, but time ran out.
Well, actually, just before that, they called out that there was 1 minute left in the match, and we were kind of like, "Oh, really? Like, how long was it?" It was probably like a 10-minute match or something. And then about 2 minutes later, or it felt like 2 minutes later, they were like, 30 seconds. It felt like it didn't feel like an accurate time thing for that for me. And then, like you said, yeah, he could have just gone for the pin. If you only got 30 seconds left, and it was less than that by this time, going for the superplex kind of didn't seem like a very sensible option.
Planned.
I'm sure it was too, but it didn't really fit with the story. If you know you only have a few seconds left in a match, like think of the Iron Man matches. They pretty much always go down to 0, right?
Well,
there's like 2 seconds left, they go for a pin, and it's like 1, 2, time expires, and then 3. They can normally time it pretty good.
I was about to mention that. So I watched Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart in an Iron Man match. It was 1 hour, and there wasn't a pinfall in the hour, so it was a sudden death. But they thought that Bret retained, so he just walked away with it because it was a tie, and then the ref he issued a sudden death. He was arguing with the announcer who was Gorilla Monsoon at that point. And then Michaels, he just rolled him up, sweet chin music him twice, and then won the belt.
Now, there was actually a chance of let them fight, and we have seen before matches where they've the wrestler said, "Hey, we want to fight for like 5 more minutes or whatever." And I actually even noticed the announcer was clapping along, trying to get the crowd sort of jeered up, and I was like, "Oh, they're definitely going to let it happen." They didn't. No extra time.
5 more seconds.
But actually, JB actually had to be helped out And I actually wondered, was he injured? So I don't know. So perhaps
But we saw him later, and during the intermission.
But perhaps at that moment, you don't always know. Sometimes like your knee doesn't always feel good, and I don't know. Yeah. But sometimes later, if you put ice on it and stuff, so I don't actually know.
Do Orange Cassidy 5 more seconds?
I don't know. Yeah, that 1 minute match was absolutely hilarious at GCW, and then of course they didn't finish, but they had 5 more seconds, and they did manage to get away. That match was hilarious. Did I actually show you that in the end? All right, that's one I got to show you later.
You showed me dodgeball. I don't know.
Okay. I talked about it to you, but I didn't show it.
Yeah, you couldn't find it actually.
Oh, okay.
Because it was 1 minute out. So 1 minute out of the 2 hours.
Yeah, that's probably difficult to find.
Visionaries.